She fired the man who gave her everything, her own father, the architect of her empire, and the reason why will leave you speechless. I needed boundaries. I needed a break. I needed my dad. Those are Beyoncé's own words. And when she was asked if she ever got her dad back, her answer was one single word: no. Sit with that for a second. The biggest entertainer on the planet, a woman who commands stadiums, a woman whose name alone moves entire industries, looked into a camera and admitted she lost her father somewhere inside the very machine that made her a star. And tonight, we are going inside that machine. Because what happened between Beyoncé and Mathew Knowles is not just a family disagreement. It is a story about money, power, secrets, betrayal, and a decision in 2011 that quietly rewired one of the biggest careers in music history. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will never look at the Knowles family the same way again. There was a time when Beyoncé and Mathew Knowles looked untouchable together, father and daughter, manager and superstar. He was there before the fame, before the Grammys, before the world even knew how to pronounce her name. Mathew built the runway, and Beyoncé took off. From the outside, their bond looked unbreakable. She even wrote music honoring him, saying she hoped the man she married and the child she would one day raise would carry the same qualities she admired in her own father. Let that sink in. She wanted her future family to be like him. And years later, those exact words would hit like a gut punch, because everything that allegedly unfolded behind closed doors turned that tribute into one of the most haunting lyrics she ever recorded. Now, before we go any further, let me be clear about something. This story is packed with allegations, lawsuits, paternity battles, and claims that have been denied, contested, and litigated. Allegations are not convictions, but the pattern here is impossible to ignore, and the receipts are stacked higher than a Houston skyscraper. So, let's get into it. To understand why Beyoncé firing Mathew Knowles in 2011 sent shockwaves through the entire music industry, you have to understand what Mathew actually built. This was not some part-time dad helping out with a school talent show. Mathew Knowles ran the operation from the ground up. He managed Beyoncé through the Destiny's Child years and straight into her solo takeover. And the numbers from that era are almost hard to believe. Destiny's Child became one of the best-selling female groups in history, moving more than 100 million records worldwide, and stacking Grammys, World Music Awards, and American Music Awards along the way. Billboard named them one of the top 10 artists of the entire decade from 2000 to 2009. That is not a career. That is a dynasty. And Beyoncé's solo run under Mathew's management was just as ruthless. 16 Grammy wins, 3 multi-platinum albums, Dangerously in Love, B-Day, and I Am Sasha Fierce. 12 top 10 hits on the Billboard Hot 100, 5 of them #1 records. And she was not stopping in music. Beyoncé stepped onto the big screen in Dreamgirls and Obsessed. Fashion deals, endorsements, global brand power. Under Mathew's watch, Beyoncé was not just a singer, she was becoming an institution. Which is exactly why March of 2011 made no sense to anyone watching from the outside. With that kind of success, with that kind of money, with that kind of history, why would Beyoncé cut her own father out of the business? One question detonated across the industry that day. What happened behind the scenes? Beyoncé herself called it one of the hardest things she had ever done. Think about what she said. Someone you love, someone who gave you life, someone who did a fantastic job. She said she had to tell herself that at some point you have to become the adult your father raised you to be. Read between those lines. That is not a business statement. That is a daughter grieving something while standing in front of the entire world, pretending it is just a corporate restructuring. And here's where the story takes its first dark turn, because the professional split didn't happen in a vacuum. It landed right on top of an imploding family. Mathew and Tina Knowles had separated, and their divorce became final in 2011, the very same year Beyoncé ended her management run. Coincidence? You tell me. Reports around that breakup included allegations of infidelity, and what came next turned private pain into public spectacle. Actress Alexandra Wright gave birth to a son named Nixon in 2010, and Mathew was confirmed as the father. Then came a second case. A paternity suit confirmed Mathew as the father of a daughter named Coy with Tokoya Branscombe. 2 children, outside the marriage, surfacing right as the family was fracturing. Paternity disputes, child support battles, headlines that would not stop. Mathew was reportedly ordered to pay substantial child support for Nixon, and then, after his income changed following the end of his management relationship with Beyoncé, he went back to court seeking to have those payments reduced. Let that timeline breathe for a moment. His daughter cuts him loose, his income drops, and suddenly the child support becomes a problem. That is the kind of detail that made people across the industry raise their eyebrows all at once. And it gets messier. The media attention around Mathew's alleged affairs dragged another uncomfortable detail into the light. The reported age gaps between him and the women involved were said to be 20 and 32 years. 32 years. With that many personal detonations going off at once, some observers started connecting dots to Beyoncé's own career at the time. Her 2011 album, 4, became one of her lower-selling solo projects compared to her earlier records, and people quietly wondered whether the shadow of her father's scandals had drifted over her release. Was it the music, or was it the noise around the name? That question has never fully gone away. But hold on, because the family drama was only the surface layer. What was happening underneath it, behind the closed doors of the business itself, is where this story stops being sad and starts being infuriating. Reports at the time claimed that an audit requested by Beyoncé's own legal team raised serious concerns about how some of her earnings were being handled, particularly money connected to her tours. Read that again. Her lawyers went looking at the books, and what they reportedly found was concerning enough that it played a role in Beyoncé deciding to end Mathew's management duties. This is the moment the story shifts from family heartbreak to something far colder. Because if those concerns were real, the man who built the empire may have been quietly skimming from its foundation. Now, Mathew Knowles has always fought back hard on this. He strongly denied taking any money from his daughter. And his counter-narrative is fascinating because he argued that the accusations were connected to Live Nation Entertainment, the touring giant, and he claimed the company wanted greater control over Beyoncé's touring business. In Mathew's version of events, he was not a father with his hand in the till. He was an obstacle being moved off the board by a corporation that wanted a bigger piece of his daughter. So while the allegations created explosive headlines, Mathew maintained he had done nothing wrong. And you know what? That defense is not nothing. Corporate power plays in the music industry are real. But here is the problem for Mathew. This was not the first time money questions had swirled around his management. Go back to the Destiny's Child era. Former members LaToya Luckett and Latavia Roberfin became involved in legal action that included allegations concerning Mathew's management and the group's finances after their departure from the group. The wider dispute involved several issues, and the accusations remained heavily contested on all sides. But that history matters, because when Beyoncé's own audit reportedly raised red flags years later, people started asking a very uncomfortable question. Was this a pattern? Questions began circulating about whether earlier experiences involving Mathew's management style and personal struggles may have shaped how Beyoncé viewed the newer allegations. Once you see smoke twice, you stop assuming it is a coincidence. And this is where the story drops into its darkest chapter, because what you are about to hear next goes somewhere far beyond business disputes and divorce filings. Some people argue that Mathew's later controversies echoed incidents described in a tell-all book by David Lee Brewer, Beyoncé's former vocal coach, titled Beyoncé: Raising Genius. Brewer made serious claims about what he says he witnessed during the 1990s. According to Brewer, Mathew used drugs, and he alleged the problem grew worse over time, affecting his parenting and creating tension around Beyoncé and her sister Solange. Brewer also claimed the alleged substance use put serious strain on Mathew's marriage to Tina. And one particularly explosive allegation was that Mathew began taking money from Tina's beauty salon. A beauty salon, the family business that kept food on the table before the fame arrived. Other reports have repeated claims about alleged drug use and suggested that people around the family were aware of the situation. There were even allegations that these personal struggles affected important meetings connected to Beyoncé's early career. Now, let me pump the brakes for 1 second, because this channel deals in truth, not fantasy. These remain claims from Brewer and other reported sources. They are not court findings. They are not confessions. They are allegations, and they should be weighed, not worshipped. But when you stack them next to the paternity cases, the divorce, the audit concerns, and the earlier legal disputes, the picture that emerges is a man whose personal chaos kept bleeding into his daughter's professional life. And at some point, something had to give. The public, of course, had its own verdict long before all the facts were in. One commentator famously put it like this: "Everybody in the world thinks Mathew is the devil. Mathew is not the devil," he said. "Mathew is simply what you call a jerk, a narcissist." But then came the twist that sent the internet into a frenzy. The devil, he claimed, is the mama. The devil is Beyoncé's mama. That clip alone poured gasoline on a fire that was already roaring, because now the narrative was not just father versus daughter, it was a full-blown family Cold War, with Tina Knowles allegedly cast as the hidden hand behind the throne. Whether you buy that or not, it tells you something crucial about how divided the people around this family had become. And yet, here is what makes Beyoncé different from almost anyone else in this industry. With all of this detonating around her, the paternity suits, the audit, the tell-all book, the public mudslinging, she never once turned it into a public war. Not one bitter interview, not one scorched earth press release. In her official statement after the split, she said the words that defined how she wanted the world to see it. "He is my father for life, and I love my dad dearly." 11 words, no accusations, no score settling, just a boundary delivered with grace. In her 2013 documentary, Life is But a Dream, she went deeper, explaining that stepping away from her father's management was about separating business from family and allowing her family to become a support system again instead of a corporate structure. Think about the psychology of that. She was not firing her dad. In her mind, she was trying to rescue him from the job, to get back the father that the manager had consumed. It is one of the most revealing things she has ever said about that period, and it reframes everything. Because that decision became the hinge point of Beyoncé's entire career. Instead of her father controlling the business side of her moves, she gained independence and room to shape her artistic direction on her own terms. And here's a detail that tells you everything about where her trust actually lived. Even after ending her professional relationship with Mathew, Beyoncé continued working closely with her mother. Tina Knowles had been involved since the Destiny's Child days, starting as the group's fashion designer, later building their clothing line, House of Durayon, and remaining a creative and styling force connected to Beyoncé's tours. That business relationship did not just survive the divorce and the split, it grew. Tina stayed connected to Parkwood Entertainment, Beyoncé's own company, and mother and daughter eventually extended their partnership into new ventures, including Beyoncé's haircare brand. So while Mathew was moved outside the walls, Tina remained firmly inside them. One parent kept a seat at the table, the other lost his key to the building. You do not need a press release to read that message. But after the professional separation, people started asking whether the personal relationship had changed too. And then came the detail that made the whole world lean forward. When Mathew married Gina Avery in Houston on June 30th, 2013, neither Beyoncé nor Solange attended the wedding. Mathew explained their absence by saying both daughters had previous commitments. Maybe they did, but people noticed. And then, 2 years later, came the contrast that turned whispers into headlines. When Tina married actor Richard Lawson in Newport Beach, California, Beyoncé and Solange were both there, front and center, smiling in the photos. One wedding empty, one wedding full. Naturally, that contrast ignited endless speculation about where things really stood between Mathew and his daughters. Actions, as they say, speak louder than any statement. To his credit, Mathew has never stopped insisting that he shares a close bond with his daughters and grandchildren. They are not seen together publicly nearly as often as Beyoncé and Tina, but that does not automatically reveal what happens behind closed doors. Mathew generally keeps the details private, while using social media to publicly celebrate Beyoncé, Solange, and his grandchildren with open pride. And the relationship has not been a total freeze. Over the years, there have been small moments suggesting the tension never told the full story. Beyoncé has occasionally acknowledged her father publicly. On her album 4, the very era of the split, she recorded Daddy Lessons, a track many listeners heard as a complicated tribute to the man who taught her toughness. And Mathew, for his part, has continued celebrating his daughter's accomplishments from a distance, like a man watching a house he built from across the street. Still, compared with the years when he stood constantly at Beyoncé's side, the relationship now operates in the shadows, and that privacy keeps people guessing. Some believe Beyoncé simply built stronger boundaries after mixing blood and business for 2 decades. Others point to the audit concerns, the personal controversies, and the crushing weight of public scrutiny as the forces that permanently reshaped their dynamic. Without Beyoncé confirming every detail, those theories remain theories. But here's what is not a theory. What happened next is the part of the story that makes your jaw hit the floor. Because the moment Beyoncé took full control through Parkwood Entertainment, she did not stumble. She detonated. She started making bolder moves, keeping projects under lock and key, and in December of 2013, she dropped her self-titled visual album in the middle of the night, with zero warning, zero rollout, and zero permission from the old industry playbook. The album crashed the internet and rewrote how superstars release music. Then came Lemonade, a visual and emotional masterwork that many interpreted as her processing betrayal, including the betrayals she watched her mother endure. Beyoncé was no longer the superstar managed by her father. She was the architect of her own empire, calling every shot and building a legacy on her own terms. The student had not just surpassed the teacher, she had made the teacher's entire model obsolete. Meanwhile, Mathew kept speaking proudly about the foundation he laid, and honestly, that history cannot be erased. He helped build Destiny's Child. He guided the launch of one of the greatest solo careers ever. Both things are true at the same time. He was the architect of the empire, and the empire expanded beyond his wildest dreams the moment he was no longer running it. That is the uncomfortable paradox sitting at the center of this entire saga. So where does that leave father and daughter today? Mathew went from being the most powerful man behind Beyoncé's career to watching her biggest moves from outside the circle. The distance is real, but distance is not the same as destruction. The boundaries she described were about survival, about saving the relationship by removing the business that was strangling it. And when you look at everything, the dynasty he built, the allegations that followed him, the audit that changed everything, the 2 weddings that told 2 different stories, one truth rises above the noise. Beyoncé did not just fire a manager in 2011, she fired the version of her life where family and business were the same thing, and she's been rebuilding on her own terms ever since. Now, I want to hear from you, because this one is personal for a lot of people. Do you believe Beyoncé and Mathew truly repaired their bond after she ended their professional partnership? Or did the audit, the scandals, and everything behind the scenes create boundaries that can never come down? And what weighs more in your eyes? The claims from the tell-all book and the paternity battles? Or Mathew's insistence that a corporate giant wanted him out of the picture? Was this ultimately about money, family, broken trust, or all of it crashing down at once? Drop your take in the comments, keep it respectful, and do not hold back, because I read every single one. If this deep dive kept you locked in, hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss the next story, because the next family we investigate has secrets that make this one look tame. Share this with someone who thinks they know the Knowles family. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.